Hey, baby, ready to go to the party? What? That a print shirt you're wearing? You wearing a print shirt again? I'm sorry, baby. I just go get out of control sometimes. You're still my girl, right? You're still my girl, right?
Oh, I need a woman who understands that things like this might happen. Are you gonna be here or not?
I want a life of my own.
Spousal abuse is no laughing matter. But the whiplash in this movie, though, I had to say something. Today we have Priscilla. I don't have like an Elvis get-up or cosplay or anything like that, but hear me out here. Priscilla starts with feet on pink carpet, and Elvis was in a movie called Blue Hawaii, so Pink Hawaii? Huh? A new A24 joint that, funny enough, I saw it promoted on their Instagram a lot, but marketing for this film, I think, maybe the socials just didn't think I was a good match for it, but I didn't see a lot of marketing for Priscilla, and when I did, it was just A24 and Sofia Coppola in the marketing. But I saw Elvis when that came out, and I figured, you know what, I gotta see this, and I wanted to anyway. I wanted to see a more subdued, slow burn drama version of what it was like living in the Presley family in this context. So yeah, as I already said, Sofia Coppola, it's one of her joints. She's the director of it. She's a director that has done so many movies, well, in general, just directed a lot of films I've heard about but just have not gotten around to seeing for the most part. The most recent movie she did was, before this, was On the Rocks, but in terms of what you would like know probably, she brought us something like Lost in Translation back in '93, which another one that I've been meaning to watch but just haven't. Another one of those movies where, although there is a full cast, I figure it makes more sense just to kind of go over our two leads, but definitely our lead, who plays Priscilla Presley herself, Kaylee Spaney. Seems like the right way to go with pronunciation. Filmography is kind of limited, but I put, what is this? She's in the First Lady TV series, like mini series. It's a show called The First Lady. And then we have our new Elvis, so not Austin Butler, but we have, I think, still an equally impressive Elvis. We have Jacob Elordi. Again, I think he's great. When I looked at the comments online whenever there was a trailer put out there, and people are like, wow, he sounds just like him. And as far as I can tell from what limited clips I've seen of Elvis is accurate, yeah. He was in Kissing Booth, which he says, I think in an interview, he's like, that's not the kind of movie I want to do. He's also said, I don't want to do like super like depressing, dark stuff. And yet he's in Euphoria as well. Now, I haven't seen Euphoria, but I know it ain't no walk in the park. What is Priscilla about? It's about an underage girl who meets Elvis Presley, and this is all based on the true story, and literally was produced partially by Priscilla Presley herself, working in tandem with Sofia Coppola and perhaps other people that were around at the time. And due to the nature and the content in this movie, I got a feeling this was a story that she was comfortable telling for the most part and kind of wanted to tell. But yeah, she's an underage girl who, through circumstances, one way or another, meets Elvis Presley and falls madly in love with him, and he seemingly falls in love with her, and then basically through different turns of events is like, and this is not really a spoiler because this is for the most part fact, I believe, but she ends up moving out of her parents' house, I think still before she's 18, gets guardianship by Elvis Presley, and then lives with him when he's there at Graceland, shortly after his mom died, I think, and then just kind of is there. And then he'll go out and do his shows and go out and tour and whatnot, and then come back to his my girl, my little baby girl, and all this, and then the drama ensues from there. On a serious note, though, I didn't love Priscilla, but I really enjoyed this, especially coming off the heels of Elvis, which was loud and bombastic and kind of puts him up on a bit more of a pedestal. But I mean, the director of Moulin Rouge, right? It was a Baz Luhrmann joint directed by Baz Luhrmann, written by Baz Luhrmann, featuring Baz Luhrmann. This was different. This is more subdued, more intimate angle of the Presley family, and I like that. Even being a more dramatized kind of borderline, I don't want to call it a biopic, but it was more of a slow burn drama. And I just kind of like this more intimate angle. And especially, I enjoyed seeing this not from Elvis on his, going and doing this in the studio and doing this show and this performance and following his ups and downs, but following someone who was literally living in the shadow of a giant. Seeing the narrative from Priscilla Presley's perspective, even the actors in this case, is probably the most appealing part of the film. And it makes it the most interesting. You kind of get into her headspace a little bit, but you kind of see her growth and evolution as she kind of almost jumps lovingly and blindly into this, what she thinks this is all going to be. And when she realizes what it actually is, it's still enticing enough for her to learn how to live with it, and for better or for worse, mind you. And it's interesting just to kind of watch her cope and learn, and I don't know if evolve is the right word per se, but definitely like learn how to live in this life, this like lifestyle, and the life of being Elvis Presley's eventual official wife. And like I said, there's some pretty thematic and serious things broached in this movie. All jokes aside, I suppose you could throw a trigger warning. It's you definitely want to throw a trigger warning, I think, in this one. There is like spousal abuse in this. Nobody's getting beat within an inch of their life or anything, but if you've been in abusive relationships, whether it's of the verbal variety, whether it's objects being thrown, or verbal insults or manipulation being implemented, that is featured in this. Not heavily, but definitely as the film goes on, it comes up here and there. Elvis was no role model. He was no pristine force of masculinity, and for as good of a singer as he was, for all the good that he did, did he treat his wife super well? An argument can be made either way. This is a human story that doesn't shy away from its flaws and the true behavior of characters, even characters that are household names and legends of their time. And I always appreciate that. I always get on my soapbox about liking a nice human story, seeing flawed characters, to see the life in the Presley household, at least in Graceland, and like to see it from her perspective, where he basically is like, all right, I want you to be my wife, I want you to be my girl, but I'm not going to bring you on tour. I don't want to, bring you around with me whenever I go do my thing like I do with the boys and when they were all partying and I have my posse and my groupies, but I want you to just stay at home. It's the gilded cage, right? Where you'll never want for anything. You get an allowance, you can go shopping, you get all the clothes, the food, all the whatever you want, but I want you to live a certain way. I need you to be there for me when I want you to be there for me, and I want you to be able to fulfill these certain like wifely duties. It's problematic to say the least, the fact that for one it was an underage girl, but it's cool to see the perspective from her. When Elvis goes off, all the noise and lights and cameras and that aura goes with him, and you're just left alone to kind of wander aimlessly in a mansion. The real talk, she probably could have gotten some more hobbies. The only cons I put in the notes are that at first glance the ending feels very sudden. Now, when you recontextualize the ending and the ending scene with the third act in its entirety, it feels a bit more natural and progressive. But the way the movie builds and goes from the first 2.5 acts, or even the first 2 acts, we all know where we're going. We all know of more or less the path that she's headed down, at least if you're somewhat familiar with Priscilla Presley's, biography and her story so far. Maybe rightfully so, the ending just kind of felt very just sudden. It just was like the movie's going, we're building to a certain point, and then it's like, boom, the end. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it, but I was just it just took me aback. It took me out of it for a second. And then, the only other negative thing I could say, the pacing is definitely very relaxed. We do minor time jumps, and we kind of have some montages here and there. The film moves at a very relaxed pace, I think. But, so I wasn't, super engaged the whole time. I didn't love the movie, but I was in a patient mood, and I was like, okay, I'm willing to sit back, relax, and just kind of watch this kind of marital slash family drama unfolds. So we'll see how this goes, and it's worth it because there's really good performances overall. Like, it lacked a wow factor for me. It had simple direction. The soundtrack, there's not a lot of Elvis's music used, but there is some. I swear to God, there is, correct me if I'm wrong, the scene where he like gives her the ring, I'm almost positive they used the xylophone theme from True Romance. I'm almost positive it was very similar, if not, but I digress. I mean, I didn't have a huge problem with the pacing overall, but it was a little bit noticeable. It's a slower movie. I can easily see how people would have an issue with the pacing. I think it's a good movie with really good performances. The cast, both main protagonists and ancillary cast, they all do a great job with what they have. Direction is simple and effective. I mean, the movie's like emotional beats and spikes, they definitely work. It's a really good film in some ways, but it's also unremarkable. So I'm going to go with my gut, what I first put down for my review here, which was a Priscilla I gave a low 4 out of 5 to. Like a low 4 out of 5. Like, it's up there, but it's not crazy up there. I'd recommend a watch for it. Do you need to see it in theaters? I mean, support the artists, sure. Sofia Coppola, keep making movies. A24, keep producing movies, please. And I love to see these actors in other things. They did a really good job, and they're great. But I don't know. Like, I mean, sure, see it in theaters, but if you wait to stream it, you're not missing a whole hell of a lot. I don't think. So that's all I got to say about it. But thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode of whatever movie I review. And goodbye, travelers.